Launch. All right. Okay. So I think we've got other folks will join as we go along. Welcome to CCC Outreach Committee meeting for July 23rd, 2025. Do the quick preliminaries. We're of course here as a community based on promotion and adoption of data protection of data in use. We of course are often many folks are in the industry together. Please be aware of and follow the antitrust policy as laid out by the Linux Foundation. Looking for are any new members or first timers that may be joining us. I see most are familiar faces, but do I see Grace? Are you haven't you been with us before?
Yeah, I've joined a few times.
Okay, all right.
Let's see.
I thought so. But I don't think we have any newbies today. All right. Of course, our outreach committee staff, please feel free to reach out to any or all of us if you have questions. All right, today's agenda, we've got the approval of minutes from last week, some of the usual reminders, and then a quick review of where we are on AI Infrastructure Summit. Then I want to spend a big chunk of time on Laura and Guzo's proposal for how we wanted to use that credit that we had with the Canopy Hilton in San Francisco. Then I can give you guys a quick update on where we are on the strategy assessment, other business, and then we wrap it up. So I don't believe we have a quorum today, but that is okay. Minutes from last week, or not last week, but 2 weeks ago, have been published. Anyone object to us approving the minutes? All right, hearing no objections. Let's consider those approved. All right, quick reminders, jobs board. Many of my colleagues and friends are on the hunt. Folks who are either looking for or have positions available, please post on the CCC jobs board. Opportunity for making connections to people who are qualified and interested. The newsletter. First of all, are you guys subscribed to the newsletter? If you're not, please subscribe to the newsletter. And every time something big is happening at your company or your organization, we've got a if you think, hey, should we do a press release or a blog post about this new development? Hey, we got a new product, we've got a new had this development in the industry, we got this award. Share the knowledge. Jump on the content submission form, write up a quick blurb about it. It's like take advantage of a free marketing platform. We can always use more blogs, and the stuff that's performing well that we've seen through our own metrics, things about use cases, things about how-tos, things about technical information. Please dive in and submit blogs for those kinds of activities. See some chat going on here. Okay, thanks, Rian.
Yeah, so from time to time, I go through LinkedIn and look for jobs which have confidential computing on them. And if they are listed by members, I send them an email and say, look, why don't you put them on here? So
Yeah.
feel free to do the same in your own company.
And if you've still got long form content that you've published on your company website or company LinkedIn, don't be shy about maybe doing a short version of that, either for the newsletter or like an executive summary blog for the CCC with a pointer back to the long form. So you use these as one more channel to reach out to audiences that are specifically interested in confidential computing. So, always, help, content marketing, of course, is you always got to have fresh fuel for the furnace. So take advantage. Okay. AI Infrastructure Summit. So I would say we are, as of this date, appear to be largely on track. We've got 5 different activities at it with the AI panel. Manu Fontaine from Hushmesh is going to be the CCC's representative on that panel. I know he's already engaged working with the organizers to be one of, I think, 4 or 5 panelists talking about the benefits of confidential computing in enterprise AI. The pre-show online seminar, Abby at Mainsail has been taken point on this one. I've seen basically our title abstract and audience strategy have been defined. And I think the next thing that we would probably want to do is take a look at like an outline of what the content is. Abby, do you have any color to add to that?
No, just that we're really excited about the digital roundtable format and making that more interactive. Yeah, but Wolf and I, we'll be ready for that. If we want to do any prep, just let us know. We can put together an outline or whatever that is. The questions that we're going to ask and engage and that stuff. So just let me know what you need.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's mostly, I think what we want to do is, again, whenever we have an activity that's, that one company is taken point on, I think it's in the interest of the community to say, okay, what's going to be delivered, at that thing. So everybody feels like, okay, supporting the whole community. Mike, your hand up.
Yeah, so on this and more general things. So firstly, I've created a coordination doc. I just put a link in the thing, and if we could add this to the minutes as well, because there are quite a lot of different things going on. I want to make sure that everything is aligned. Abby, you said if you need things doing, I don't know who you is in this context. I think that's part of the problem. One of the things that we've been talking about is whether we need a single unifying or owner of this summit and all the different pieces that are going on, and whether that needs to be me and whether I need to be there. There's another event in Basel, which I can't go to both, frankly. And the question is whether I basically am the point person for this summit and allow myself to be coordinating it, if you see what I mean.
Sure.
And it does sound like that might be a useful thing. Mike, do you want to add to that as well?
Well, when you say be the point person, what role do you think that point person plays exactly?
Well, it's coordinating that thing, making sure that people are filling the stuff in, making sure that everyone is prepped. When Abby said, "What do you need us to do?" I don't know who. I don't know what there is to do, and I don't know who would be in charge of making sure that is all done. And I think it needs somebody. So Abby, what did you mean when you say let us know if there's something to happen?
Yeah, just like let's do a Zoom practice run through a week. Who's promoting the event? How are we getting people attended? Who's doing the follow? Just logistics, really. I do think it's nice to have a moderator, to your point, that represents the community. Mainsail will obviously do that if you want us to. But really just making sure that, everyone that's going to contribute to the success of this digital roundtable is, can get on Zoom, that we've tested our audio, that we have, an outline and everybody's kind of on the same page to deliver. Yeah.
So do the organizers provide the platform, or is it all expected to be done by
Yeah,
us,
this is
or what's?
yeah, this is when we signed up for this sponsorship package, we basically got access to all of these 5 activities. And so what I've been doing is saying, okay, this is this particular activity. Does somebody want to take point on this one? And that's like on the online, the pre-show online seminar, the interactive roundtable. Abby said, I'll do that. And Jamie said, we'll take the live session. And, of course, the agreement is, this is a CCC sponsored and paid for venue. The goal is to benefit the whole community, not the narrow commercial interest of one company.
Yeah.
And I think I think everybody's got the agreement, the understanding that that's what we're in there for. But it's also going to be, if you take point on one of these things, you can promote your implementation as a use case or a particular implementation. I think that's fair. If you're going to put in the work, you get a chance to showcase your stuff.
Yeah. So there's kind of I don't want to call it policing that, but coordinating role across these things. And it sounds like maybe if I take that role, and also if I'm there to make sure that the booth is staffed all the right times and that we take delivery of any assets we want to put on it, and all those sorts of things. So would that be helpful, Abby? And is there anyone else from Inveri or Hashmesh on this call?
I think that would be incredibly helpful, Mike. Yeah.
I didn't see. I know
No, I can't see anyone.
Jamie had a conflict for
Right.
the strategy assessment, so I suspect it's probably carrying forward to this one too.
Okay, Mike, if you're happy, I will say I'll take this. We'll arrange something different for the Basel thing, and I'll take point, and
Okay.
I will contact all of the people on this list and in that README document, and we will make sure that everything fits together. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Okay. So,
Okay, and
Abby,
then
we'll talk later on.
okay, and then the podcast with Tech Arena, Manu and Jason are signed up to do a 2-on-1 interview with the host, Allison Klein. And that we've got the recording date booked for that. The first round of questions that they're going to be asking are in circulation. They're pretty, they're straight up, they're basically teeing up opportunities to talk about confidential computing. And so they're exactly the kind of thing that we want to promote the community. The booth, this, of course, you guys always know that I am always anxious about booths because this is where you gotta have, the booth is only as good as having a human being in it to engage people who want to talk to us. So you need a presentable space, you need a staff, and so there's several things that need to get done. So Mike, I think if you're going to,
I will also own that. So could
Okay.
you send me, or could someone send me everything we have about the AI Info Summit? Because I don't think I have seen all of it in terms of things like when the booth needs to be staffed and stuff.
Okay.
And I'll start working on that tomorrow morning.
Okay. Got it. The ordering, the furnishing is the AV. We got that done yesterday.
Oh,
Um,
brilliant.
what a racket, man. That is,
It is. It really is.
and then we need to source, and this is where Rhiannon, Renew, and Dan can help me out. We need to source what are we going to do for branding in our booth? How are we going to make sure that our like event QR code is visible? How do we order up some new stickers with our new friend Tico the armadillo on them, and start spreading spreading that around throughout the show. Dan, I saw you on. We had the idea of that sort of that remind me later feature with the QR code, because you think we identified that, when you're at the show and you're moving around, you don't necessarily want to stop in the middle of the show after you hit the CCC QR code and read a white paper.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about how do we have this feature that says, hey, remind me to come back in 3 days. And so I'm wondering if we could debut that capability here at AI Infrastructure Summit.
That's no problem. What we'll do is we'll just add another button to that page with saying exactly that. And it'll go to a form. Like the best way I can think, if there are other ideas, shout out. But my thinking is we'll go to a form that'll just ask for their email, nothing else. And say that we'll send them an email and next week to remind you to come back.
Okay.
I think that's good.
That'd be-
We get consent that way. It's all clear, I think. Nice work done.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this week we should probably get our staffing sign up sheet. Again, Mike, to your point of when are the booth hours? When do we need to have people there? And let's get that signed up and start getting people in the booth. Okay, I plan to leave AI Infrastructure Summit behind. Any other questions on this one? All right. So let's talk about how we want to use our credit at the Hilton Canopy San Francisco. And I saw Laura, you are here.
I'm here.
Did
Guzzo
Guzzo
was
make
going
it
to-
today?
But maybe he had a conflict. I don't see him on. That's okay. We chatted yesterday, so I think we're in sync, and it's just really a brainstorming session at this point. So I'll go on camera so I don't. All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning and good evening to those in Europe and other places. So we did confirm October 20th at the Hilton Canopy in San Francisco for our event. The theme right now that we've I think that this was, I think it was strategized last week, and I don't know if it was codified or not, but strategies to protect sensitive or regulated data in the AI era. I'm loath to use the word agentic AI, but if you guys want to throw that in, I'm totally okay with it. The time, it's just a half-day workshop right now. So we were thinking 11 to 4, and we wanted to get everybody's opinion on that, if that works for everyone else, or would it make more sense to do a morning session and then, finish up around 2. So we're open to changing that. Is there any strong opinions one way or the other?
I think you're going to want to do, because frankly, because we have enough money within this credit to do it, is you're going to have, you want to have definitely one meal clearly enclosed. And so San Francisco Bay Area commuting is a challenge.
For
So
sure.
I think if you start early, you could do like a breakfast plus lunch thing and end in the early afternoon. You could go
Okay.
a little bit later, give people more time to make the commute. So like 9 to 3 or 9 to 2. Or if you want to tip it clear into like a happy hour situation, start at 1 and then you end the day with like happy hour at the
Okay.
end. Um,
What day of the week is it?
It's a Monday.
Okay, so happy hour may not be great. But on the other hand, going straight in at 9 o'clock is probably pushing it as well, given that the traffic's likely to be horrible on a Monday.
Yeah, I think without overly strategizing it, you want to give them enough time so that it's a leisurely, it's not a hellscape to try and get to it in the morning. But on the other hand, you don't want to give them a chance to go to the office and get busy with something. And
Yeah,
then
you're right,
skip
because
out.
otherwise they'll never get in.
Maybe we do 10 to 4.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I know if I go in the office, it's done for. I'm going to be
Yeah,
working
yeah.
all day. Okay. Okay. So the structure, this was just with the limited amount of time that we had listed, and I wasn't sure. I wasn't able to attend last few weeks because I was traveling. We were thinking a 60-minute might be too much for intros, but lunch and keynote, 60 minutes, and then workshop and use cases. We were thinking 15 to 20 minutes each, but we could actually update that to be, 20 to 25 minutes, depending. But we think that if we want to keep it very fresh and very fluid, we're thinking 15 minutes, because when people have to call down very long messages, they keep them more succinct. At least I know I do. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? 15 to 20 minute sessions each for each of the presenters.
Well, I think with respect to the space, we're in the same place. We don't have like multiple rooms.
No.
We're not rotating people around. It's one room
It's one room.
for basically 6 hours. So
Mhm.
I think we're going to want to keep it. There's a couple things. One, you're going to want breaks because nobody likes to sit still for horrendously long periods of time.
Mhm.
And I think I like the idea of like more topics that are shorter. So you could now they could fall within somewhat with some of these larger categories within these categories, but I'm thinking something like your opener would be 20 minutes, and then your speakers and stuff like that are maybe like in half-hour chunks, so that you're never more than 30 minutes away from a change in topic or tone. Now that's going to mean you're going to have a lot of speakers if you do that, but it's certainly it would keep it more interesting and engaging than having fewer speakers with like 60-minute slots.
Yeah. So I think that what Kuzo and I discussed yesterday and the other time we had met was really having a kind of like round table for about an hour and a half of this time towards the end of the day, that kind of just opens it up for concerns that these IT leaders are having, or concerns that consortium members have heard from their customers, et cetera. And then kind of collating that and making it, just basically allowing us to kind of like free thought and think about how we might conquer those challenges as a group. So kind of like an open sort of session at the end of it.
I think one of the things that might be interesting for that kind of a thing is to give them like break them into groups and give them an assignment, which is discuss among yourselves problems in privacy, security, compliance, or you know, the people don't directly have attestation problems, but basically of knowing for sure that something is who they say they are, or the software is what it says it is. And you have them kind of design their own use case. Like, how would an application of confidential computing, and then kind of do a report out on, 3 or 4 different ways that, because I'd like, it would be good about that is basically draft the attendees into thinking about how they can apply this technology to themselves, rather than being, entirely just lectured at by experts and vendors. It's like, how could we apply this to ourselves? And that they'll discuss that amongst each other. They can design a particular use case. I think that might be time well
I like
spent.
that. So maybe in between, so maybe we start with 2 sessions that are very general in CC, like these 2 sessions and use cases that are generalized. Then we break, and maybe for 1 hour, we discuss. We have the how it applies to X company, right, or how it applies to me, and then I'm writing notes so I can add this in later. And then we'd have another hour of sessions after that. So that's 3.5 hours about. And then maybe we do some demos, so we're not completely inundating them with too many talks. So we could do demos because I know that some of actually I don't know. I heard, because I wasn't here. I heard that a couple of the attendees would like to do demos and showcase how they're using it. Guzo was very excited about how TikTok is using confidential computing today, and he kind of wanted to share that in a demo. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Maybe getting a couple of demos from folks like, I could bring in somebody from the Flare team to do agentic AI and show how the open source confidential computing is possible today. Protecting LLMs is possible today. Then Guzo could showcase his use case that TikTok's using today with confidential computing, and maybe a third company to showcase how they're using confidential computing.
Yeah,
I think that's really nice. Sorry, carry on, Mike.
I'm giving a hearty thumbs up to demos.
Okay.
So one question I was going to ask is, again, would you like me there? I can be there. It looks like you got most of it in hand, but having, for topping and tailing, for doing intros and being sort of the neutral person who's pulling it together. I don't need to be, but I think I can make it. And if that would be helpful, just say.
I think it would be. I don't know if I'm the ruling one here, but I think it'd be great.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be.
Yeah.
You've been involved with it from the very beginning. You do speak commonly at a lot of different events around confidential computing, and you've seen so much of the industry from a global perspective. I think it'd be great to have you there.
Thank you. And again, being able to make remarks and just pull things together from a sort of neutral point of view and point people at stuff. Okay, let's aim to do that then. That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. One other thing, and this is maybe a shout out to the members. One of the things that I think I think it's an interesting topic is, what are the legal and regulatory implications that would lead somebody to want to adopt confidential computing? And so I was thinking an interesting speaker might be, either a compliance attorney, a chief data privacy officer, somebody who has basically makes their living navigating the legal framework around privacy and data security. Somebody out of finance, something DORA compliance, stuff like that.
What do you think? What do you think our chances are of working out the or as we're collecting people, attendees, finding out what their titles are, and trying to make sure that we do a bit of planning as we go forward to, adjust the messaging, or maybe even the demos a bit to hit those. Because if it's a very strongly developer rather than compliance group, for instance, it would be different to, a CISO again. So is that worth doing, do you think, if we try and collect that as we go?
Well, I think even if you collect it, I mean, even if you had a developer weighted audience, I think talking about enhancing the value proposition of I mean, in some ways, you definitely want the developers of the software to know what the lane is that they're coming up. Their software is coming up a lane, and it's going to connect to a buyer, and making the appeal, understanding the kind of the regulatory or legal framework around that might be really helpful.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should visit this like in the next meeting. But if any of the members or the folks here on the line today have somebody that they work with that could be an interesting speaker in this regard. There was I don't know, I'm sure they're still around, a company called Beekeeper AI that had their outside counsel write a really interesting article about HIPAA compliance and confidential computing. And I thought it was a very good, it would make a very good talk for how a different audience would think about the benefits of confidential computing.
I think they're still around, but I think that they were based out of Texas now.
Are they
but
still members?
Were they members originally?
I thought they were, but maybe not. Maybe there was talk of it. But
Anyway,
I don't know if
it
that
was.
ever came in.
I wasn't. It doesn't. It's not a requirement to get that specific speaker
No,
or
they're
anything
not.
like that. But that was an
Interesting.
example of
Yeah.
it. Abby, I see you were trying to get a word in there a minute ago.
Yeah, I was just, I'll just send you a recommendation later, but we have legal counsel who specializes on AI, data privacy, data security is on the Hill a lot. So I'll send you over his information and bio and stuff, and you guys can see if that be somebody that you'd want to talk to.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Nice, thanks, Abby.
So I mean,
just quickly saying hi. I'm a little,
hi,
a little bit late, but I caught you in the middle of the presentation. I also saw that Yulia Gontar unmuted. I'm not sure if you want to chime in, Yulia.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I was like you were saying about the demos, right? So I was curious what kind of capacities the room has, right? So in order for us potentially to look if we would offer, right, the demonstration of our capabilities, whether remotely, whether on site, etc. So do you know anything at this stage, or what I need to double check with you so that we could be able to confirm or to suggest anything?
So far, all I know is that we got power and Wi-Fi, and that's
Yeah, so I actually was able. Yeah, Guza and I were able to confirm that we can comfortably fit 36 people in the room. So he and I discussed, and Guza, you can jump in here, having 12 of the consortium and then bringing the rest in as potential customers or, industry thought leaders that you've been working with or that you are hoping to influence in order to get them more on board around CC and adoption. That's kind of what we were thinking, but of course we are completely open to the group and feedback here.
So I think it's worth having a coordinating doc to handle this so that everything's in the one place. I'll create that tomorrow and share it with Laura and Guzzo and Yulia, and we can use that. Whoever is the owner, and again, I think we need an owner or a pair of owners. So maybe it's Laura and Guzzo. so that we can coordinate all of that. I think you've already kind of taken over the ownership. You've agreed, right, Laura and Guzzo? Is that correct?
Yes, we're happy to coordinate it. Mhm.
Perfect.
And then
Excellent.
Guzzo, there was someone in, I think Tony, right, in Seattle, that's going to be the local on-site rep for TikTok.
Correct.
Cool. Excellent. Right, I'll put that together just so we've got a single place and everyone can look at it and know what's going on and ask questions and things. Okay. Brilliant.
All right, Laura, let's see if we can wrap this one up in about 5 more minutes. But what do we need? What would you like to see from the members at this point?
Well, I think the biggest open, and Guzzo, jump in here if there was something else, but I think the biggest open that Guzzo and I were really, interested in finding out from this group was we want audience participation. So what's the best way to achieve that? What's the best way to make sure, to Mike's earlier point, like a couple weeks ago, that it's not just an echo chamber of everything we already know and hear from each other. What's the best way to get an audience in there and their participation? Should we, can you guys reach out to your potential customers or the partners you're working with to get them to join? We're open to thoughts here.
Yeah, I was thinking that we probably have a number of, we should go through, speaker by speaker and slot by slot of how we want to program the speakers. So I think there might be an opportunity here for members who would be able to have somebody there, be a speaker in one of those slots, or and you possibly using that slot to show a demo as some folks have suggested. We probably also would like members to invite their if they have customers or prospects that might be in the Bay Area or could get to the Bay Area for this event. I think that would be super helpful in just getting passes to people who, say, company X, oh yeah, we've been working with this person at Wells Fargo. This would be totally up their alley. Let's invite that person, and we'll reach out to them to bring them in. It's not a huge room. We should probably not completely pack it because it's, nobody wants to be in a sweaty 40, you don't want to be the 41st person packed into this room. But, to be basically get a small group seminar focused on this technology is probably a pretty good time, or be time well spent if we program it right.
And just a quick double check. Do we plan to have any hybrid mode? I remember first time Laura was saying that NVIDIA is great in combining online and offline, or is it too small attendees in the room to try to amplify it online afterwards, even if, yes, not in the real-time mode?
That's a good question. Would we try and record it and then edited it down to some kind of a consumable artifact? Was not in the plan and not in the budget, especially because we're reusing a credit from that is kind of left over from an activity that we didn't go through with. But it's a good idea, and let's think about it.
Yeah, just to add, I think there are two different things here. The number one is hybrid participation. I would say that for the time being, I would focus on an in-person event. And then if there are, one or two panelists or even participants that want to join, then we extend that option. And then if we think that it's worthwhile to bring in people hybridly as well, then we extend that as well. But hybrid events in terms of facilitation and execution are quite tricky, especially with the current AV that we have. We don't have, cameras that follow presenters or, involve cross-pollination between online and in-person audiences. So just focusing on in-person audience for the moment is, I think, will be the right way to go. And I think the idea of filming it, Mike, is and Yulia is a good one. So we could look into thinking how to do that. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be in person. As I said, we're working with Tony, our local confidential computing representative in Seattle. But if I am also specialized in videography, so I could also set something simple up that could attain to the needs. But yeah, just separating these two discussions so we can.
Nice.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and I'm being sensitive to that, both the budget question, and I am also inclined to, I'm going to associate with myself with Guzzo's remark that it's, our first priority is a great in-person experience. We're dragging humans out of their daily lives to come to this thing, and we need to put on a good show. So, okay. So I think next steps. I'd like to, next meeting, let's put together a straw man of the program of what we would do, and that's probably going to include several blank spaces for where member speakers could be part of, and then probably also start talking about our audience invitation. We've got to make sure that we want to get on that early. So we define who we're going after, and how many passes or seats each member company can bring in. I would love to have the problem of excess demand to be in our seminar. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, Laura, Guzzo, anything else you want to add on this one?
No.
All right. Hey, thanks again for you guys for taking the lead on this. This is a huge help. Dan, looks like there are some metrics
Yeah,
in here. Do you want to do it?
just gonna be really quick. So for the page views, we saw nearly 13,000 page views this month, which is up to 86.4 increase year over year from June 2024. And in terms of unique visitors, we had around 6,000, representing a 75 almost % of increase compared to the same time last year. And looking at our top content, the homepage still led the way with 5,600 views and making up about 43.4% of overall traffic. And other high
Angela,
performing.
sorry, can I just a very quick question on the very top line? Is there a comma misplaced after the June 2024 figure? Should it be 6,966? I'm just trying to read it. It didn't make sense to me.
Oh, 6. So the number before year over year growth was the number from last year. So for
But is it 6,966? Is there a misplaced comma? Is that just a
No, it
formatting
was.
issue?
Oh, the column was sorry, the comma was wrong. So it's supposed to
Okay,
be.
that's fine. If that's all it is, I apologize. I just wanted to check. That's great. Thank you. Sorry.
My
Carry on.
typo. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's all
but
good.
yeah,
It's all good.
Okay. So the top content remained the same for the top 4, and then this month we see a get involved, become a member page bumped up to the top 5. So that's a really good sign. And then top traffic sources, we still have direct traffic brought in 2,658. Referrals followed closely with 2470, and then organic search accounted for 1849, and the remaining came from unassigned sources and organic social and other factors as well. And device usage was also split. Mobile and desktop were nearly equal, and tablets made up a very small portion. In terms of geography, most of our traffic still came from the US, with around 32.36%, followed by India at 11.4%, Bulgaria at 6.9, China at 4.11, and Canada at 2.82. So overall, June was a really strong month with notable
Our
year-over-year.
Bulgarian bot is still out there and still active, huh?
Yes, they are.
All right. Yulia's got her hand up.
I have a question. I'm looking at the top content and the resources webinars has it is on the table. Let's say this way. Does it mean that the audience is interested to see what's there, or did you have any, I don't know, tractions with the webinar specifically, and that's why this was the direction the audience went to this month?
So my guess would be the webinar was the resources in the past because it happened a couple months back. And it still has been a very useful resources for people who are interested in CCC in general. So that's my guess, but we can also just dig deeper into it to see what's the reason specifically.
And we do have some YouTube stats on a future slide, so that may address
cool.
some of that question.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, so recently, since our last meeting, we have published some blogs and the interview that Mike did. We had been rolling out some member announcements, including the tinfoil, and also there's another one in the pipeline with QLAD, if I pronounced it right, the member announcement as new startup members. And we are also having another blog that's featuring the LFX mentorship coming up in the upcoming week as well. And then, of course, the July newsletter supposed to be targeting the end of this month. So yeah, that's for the recent content. And the next slide, please. Just a quick snapshot of the YouTube channel analytics. Our top video for the recent 28 days is the Scaling Trust Autonomous Intelligence with NVIDIA. So that's one of the talks at the mini summit. And for the past 28 days, the views have reached to 1,000 with additional 22 subscribers. So this is a quick snapshot of YouTube. And that's all the items that I'm going through today.
All right. Thank you very much. Yulia, your hand's up.
No, sorry.
Oh, okay. That's leftover. Okay. All right. And then real quick out of the strategy discussion, and wow, we can even do an update. Follow up July. So this is actually the second hour of confidential computing meetings for several of us. So we had our kickoff meeting on the strategy assessment. So this was the 2 weeks ago. You know, I kicked off the topic and said, look, we should look at our strategy. It's probably time to reassess how we're, what is our purpose? What are we trying to do? Who are we talking to? What are our goals? Key metrics. We had, we kicked off in a formal strategy assessment July 16th. And we had participation from all these folks, except Abby is now, sorry, this was only relevant to the first meeting. Abby is back in full swing. So we had the first meeting on July 16th, follow-up meeting earlier this morning, doing a strategy, talking about the strategy, talking about the audiences, talking about the balance between things like generic educational confidential computing content and activities versus balancing that with the commercial products that our members produce. And so this was a really good, productive conversation. Then we spent a lot of time talking about kind of the mission and purpose of what are we doing. Talked a bit about, quite a bit about audiences and, focusing on, say, an end user audience versus a developer audience. We talked about questions about things like, do we have, sorry, I lost the train of thought. Yeah, anyway, it's bottom line is I think we're going to have out of this straw man that we developed, I think we've got enough of a framework and a thing to bring to the committee next week. And then we are, after we have everybody in the committee in outreach have a chance to take a look at it and provide feedback, then we need to go off to the governing board. I am expecting the governing board will probably be supportive of some of our tactical changes. It will be interesting to see what the governing board thinks about this commercial versus educational balance. And I'm looking forward to that conversation. All right. I think so. Next week, expect kind of the report out on that. All right. One of the things, so here is something that I wanted to throw in front of you guys to just get feedback. And by the way, I want to be super clear. This is Mike thinking out loud. This is not governing board approved. This is not anybody approved. This is just me trying to grapple with this commercial versus community problem. So this is one way that we could possibly strike the balance between the commercial and the community is that if you're working in a CCC sponsored venue or a channel. So let's imagine newsletter content or a blog that is hosted on the CCC's website, that you're opening, basically you have to present your bona fides to say why why you are part of the community here. So in your opening, you explain your connection to the CCC or explain your connection to confidential computing. Then you move into the body of the content or the communication, and you talk about the specifics of your implementation and showcase how the confidential computing aspects of your implementation and the benefits that confidential computing provides, either within the context of your particular product or service. And then in the close, there would be a learn more link to the CCC or other CCC assets, and then maybe also use the CCC member badge. So in a completely made up example below would be one way that you could do this. So, this week, CCC member company Miteco announced their newest release of SecretDB, the privacy-centric database and analytics platform. So again, establishing why am I communicating in a CCC channel? Because I'm a CCC member company. And then, to protect sensitive data, SecretDB uses confidential computing, a privacy-enhancing technology that protects, sensitive data in use. In a remotely attested trusted execution environment. So the opening of my content is establishing why I am basically my justification for appearing in a CCC sponsored venue. Then in the body of it, I'm talking about my product. I'm talking about SecretDB, it's the world's leader in privacy first analytics. It allows you to conduct detailed analysis of your sensitive and regular data, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, okay, again, here is another check to confidential computing. At the heart of SecretDB is confidential computing technology, which encases the analytics engine inside a hardware trusted execution environment. And longtime privacy leader Blank Inc. said, we adopted SecretDB for its confidentiality, security, and performance. So although the bulk of this body is really promoting the product, it does have a pretty significant hit that talks about, confidential computing. And then in the close, hey, you can learn more about Miteco Secret DB at this link, and you can visit the Confidential Computing IO to find out more about confidential computing in the CCC member badge. So this is a hypothetical example of how we could possibly reconcile this commercial and community interest. Any thoughts in the next 90 seconds?
Mike, I have a thought. I'm thinking that it is great as an initiative, but what we're lacking is the fact that the first several seconds is what will hook the reader or not. And our goal in any posts, in any blog, in something, needs to be the way that we keep the reader reading till the end. And if we'll miss in the first 2 seconds, 2 sentences, then the reader will just skip and move on. So I would suggest that we need to find a way out of the box to combine the tightness of Confidential Computing Consortium with this ability to keep the reader reading.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't want to have, this is not intended as a fill in the blanks template, but it is intended as to show an example of how in your open, you can establish basically, or in all 3 of these sections, the open, the body, and the close, how you can, how we can showcase the community interest as well as the specific commercial interest. Anyway, we'll keep refining this as we go, but just give it some thought as we proceed. Any other business before we wrap it up here at the top of the hour?
No, thanks very much indeed, Mike. Good job.
Okay.
I'll create those documents and share them with the right people. Thank you very much indeed.
All right. So next meeting, 2 weeks. Look forward to the proposal about the strategy assessment, the programming for the Canopy thing, and maybe Abby, maybe a quick outline of what's planned for the online roundtable.
Sure.
And then I'll make the same request to Jamie for the on-site session.
And
Okay,
I'll make sure Mike Purcell's involved with that as well going forward.
That's
Sounds
great. Thank
great.
you very much.
Yep. Thank you.